You keep chasing change, but nothing sticks because your habits haven't. Success isn't built on motivation, it's built on repetition. If you wake up doing the same things, you'll keep living the same life. But the moment you take control of your daily patterns, everything begins to shift. Your future is hidden in your routine. Shift your habits with intention, and you'll unlock a version of yourself you've never met before. You become what you repeatedly do. You are not the sum of your intentions, you are the sum of your actions. Not once, not twice, but actions you repeat without fail, day in and day out. You may think your life is determined by big decisions, but it is the small, invisible habits that shape your destiny. A man doesn't wake up successful, he becomes successful through a quiet ritual of repeated behavior, thoughts, words, movements that sculpt his mind and mold his result. But why do so many fail to see this? Because habit disguises itself as routine. You stop noticing the very thing that's shaping your outcome. You rise late, put things off, speak words of doubt, then wonder why success feels like it belongs to someone else. It isn't fate, it isn't luck, it's your pattern. A habit you've rehearsed into permanence. So how do you turn the wheel? You begin by observing. Begin your mornings with intention instead of drifting. Choose. Choose action over excuse. Choose focus over noise. Choose to build, to refine, to grow. Replace one small habit, just one. Do it every day, not once a week. Let it become your new default. Imagine this: you rise before the sun. You speak words of power, not complaint. You write down your goals not once, but each day. How long before the world begins to bend in your favor? Not long, because your habits write your story, even when you're not paying attention. So I ask you, what have you been rehearsing lately? Fear or faith? Delay or discipline? Because what you do consistently, you become permanently. Choose wisely. Small disciplines build great fortunes. Greatness is not built in a moment, it is carved, chiseled, refined in silence. A man becomes powerful not by dreaming of power, but by repeating small acts of discipline so consistently that they become his nature. Discipline is not about punishment, it is the gatekeeper of liberty. It is what separates those who live on purpose from those who live by accident. You may wonder, why bother with the small things? Because the small things are the big things in disguise. The way you rise, the way you speak to yourself, the way you do your work, even when no one is watching. These habits decide the size of your results. Begin by mastering the first hour of your day. Not when the day gets busy, before it begins. Make your bed with precision. Read something that strengthens the mind. Train the body. Speak your goals aloud. These aren't chores, they are declarations. Each act says, I am in command. Imagine a man who keeps his word to himself, who never lets fatigue speak louder than purpose, who each morning does what others won't. Over time, who will succeed? The one who works in flashes or the one who builds like a mason, brick by brick? Now ask yourself, what small discipline have you been avoiding? That's your next door to power. Walk through it. Thoughts become habits. Habits shape fate. You must understand, your thinking is not neutral. It is a forge. Every thought you repeat hardens into belief, and every belief, if unexamined, becomes habit. Most men never rise because they never change the way they think. They hold on to doubts, fears, and tiny visions and wonder why life offers them nothing more. But consider this. Your mind is not meant to drift, it is meant to be driven. You can either fill it with thoughts that build you or thoughts that bind you. The choice is always yours, yet few make it deliberately. You shift your destiny when you shift your dominant thoughts. Write them, speak them, think them until they push out the poison of doubt. Say to yourself, I am capable, I am committed, I am becoming, not once, constantly, until the voice of weakness fades and strength becomes natural. Imagine you're building a mansion. Would you lay bricks of fear and doubt? Or would you build with faith, vision, and courage? Your thoughts are the motor of your future. Handle them with care. What have you been thinking when no one is looking? That's your true direction. Change it and everything follows. Success is found in daily ritual, not occasional effort. Success is not a thunderclap, it is a whisper, repeated through ritual. The men who build empires, fortunes, and legacies do not rely on moods or sudden bursts of energy. They build rituals, sacred patterns of action that produce predictable excellence. You've likely seen men who start strong, who sprint and then stumble. They rely on willpower, but willpower fades. Ritual remains. It carries you through fatigue, boredom, setback. It becomes who you are. But why is ritual so powerful? Because it doesn't ask your permission. Once formed, it acts automatically. It removes the friction between intention and execution. Ritual turns dreams into duties and duties into reality. You build a ritual by anchoring it to something sacred. Morning, evening, meals. Attach an action to a moment. Repeat it, respect it, protect it. Let no excuse pierce it. Picture this. A man wakes before the town stirs. He lights a candle. He writes down 10 goals. He visualizes their completion. He lifts his body with effort. He repeats his sentence of power every day without fail. Will he not over time separate himself from the masses? So, what are you doing each day without fail? That's your ritual. Is it building you or breaking you? Purpose fuels habits that last. A man who truly knows why he wakes up each morning doesn't need motivation. He embodies it. He doesn't shrink before pain, failure, or fatigue because his soul burns brighter than any obstacle. Purpose is not just a goal, it is the engine behind every action. The invisible fire that turns discipline from a burden into a form of worship. Without it, even the best habits wither. A man can force himself to run for a few days, rise early for a week, grind for a month, but without purpose, he will stop because there's no reason to continue. Look around you. Watch how people live. Most move mechanically, drifting from one habit to another, mimicking what they see online, copying routines they do not understand, chasing results they don't even want. They scroll through other people's lives, hoping something will click in theirs. They wake up without clarity. They work without direction. They chase pleasure because they lack something more permanent. They don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they are not anchored. They lack purpose, and purpose cannot be inherited. It is not something anyone can give you. No book can hand it to you. No mentor can define it for you. You must decide it. You must write it. You must look into your own soul and say, "This is why I am here." And once you do, you must return to it daily, morning after morning, night after night, not as a reminder, but as a ritual. The man who lives this way becomes unshakable. Because when your habits are tied to your purpose, they transform. They are no longer duties, they are devotions. Distraction begins to feel like disrespect to your own destiny. You no longer need tricks to wake up early. Your vision wakes you. You no longer struggle with consistency. Your identity demands it. So, how do you find this purpose? You stop the noise. You sit in stillness. You ask, "What was I made to contribute?" You experiment with action. You write down goals, not for approval, but for alignment. Then you watch. Which of them stirs your spirit? Which ones make you move without pressure? That's your clue. Purpose is felt before it is understood. And once you sense it, you build habits to honor it every single day. Imagine this: a man digging for gold. Many dig out of curiosity, but one digs because he knows the gold is there. He's seen it in his dreams. He's felt it in his bones. His hands do not tire because his heart is convinced. And that is the difference: conviction. Now ask yourself honestly, what are your habits serving? Are they tied to something real or are they floating? If you don't know the answer, then the time to discover it is now. Once you connect your actions to your mission, everything aligns. Pain becomes fuel, time becomes sacred, and your life begins to move with force. Your environment reflects your standards. Take a close look around you, not with casual eyes, but with the gaze of a man ready to rise. Observe the space you wake up in, the desk you sit at, the items you see every day, the voices that fill your hours. These are not coincidences. They are reflections. Quiet, constant reflections of the standard you hold for yourself internally. A man does not need to speak of his values. His surroundings do the talking. His room, his tools, his schedule, his circle, all of it whispers or shouts his identity. Yet, how many live in chaos and confusion, pretending it has no consequence? They wake up late, surrounded by clutter. Their homes are neglected. Their plans are disorganized. They tolerate drama, laziness, and distraction from those closest to them. Then wonder why life feels heavy, stuck, just short of momentum. But life is always speaking. The results they are getting are not a mystery. They are a mirror. When you permit disorder in your environment, you send a signal to your mind. This is acceptable. This is what I deserve. And that quiet signal shapes your entire attitude. But when you demand more, when you clean with discipline, when you organize with intention, when you protect your peace from toxic influence, you begin to rise. Not just externally, but internally. You reinforce an identity of excellence. You begin to feel like someone who deserves more, because you act like someone who does. So, how do you raise this standard? You begin by confronting your environment with honesty. Audit your space, touch everything. Ask yourself, does this serve who I'm becoming? If the answer is no, remove it, without guilt, without delay. Whether it's an old item, a sloppy habit, or a person whose energy pulls you down, remove it, because this is your life, and your life becomes what you tolerate.